Hello! This is Janey and Max from Sort of the Story, and we're here to tell you about some things that are happening between episodes 63 to 75.
During these episodes, there are interspersed audio break-ins of a person's voice along with the sound of static. You'll also notice in the show notes for these episodes, there is sort of a puzzle. This is part of a longer puzzle that we did leading up to episode 76, so this is all supposed to be there. Nothing to worry about, just a fun game.
Yeah, and we hope you have a lot of fun with it, and we hope you enjoy listening to these next couple of episodes. All right, enjoy this one. It's a good one, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we say some really stupid shit in this. You're going to love it. All right,
Bye!
Hello, and welcome
To Sort of the Story.
I'm Janey.
I'm Max.
And we are two best friends who do a podcast together. Forgot what the intro was.
Forgot what this podcast is.
It's called Sort of the Story. And you are here.
This is the podcast where we tell each other stories. Fairy tales, folk tales, mythology, urban legends, miscellaneous historical events.
And some stories from our lives and maybe some lies. It's not for children. And if you're not a child, you get to be here as well. Welcome to episode 75.
Ooh.
Yeah, we are 3/4 of a way to $1. How do you feel about that, Max?
That's just 3/4.
Speaking of $1, Max. Oh, you're right. We are 3/4 of a way to 100 cents.
Speaking of 75 cents.
Speaking of 75 cents.
We just launched our Patreon.
And if you joined last week, thank you.
We are absolutely overwhelmed that anyone was interested, and you are all incredibly sweet, and we want to thank you so amazingly much for helping us to be able to continue doing this.
I had to deny my most basic instincts of messaging every single person that joined our Patreon to ask them, hey, what's your address? So I could send them a gift. I'm like, Janey, stop! That's not one of the tiers! But just now, I really wanted to send you all a gift. Instead, I sent you a lovely little thank you message.
That's so nice.
But I almost put, also, what's your address? I'm sending you something. And the something would have been something weird from our house.
You want...
Should that be one of the tiers? If you sign up, we send you something weird from our house and we don't give an explanation for it. Maybe if we ever do a fundraising thing for a weird charity.
Just a blind box of items from our house.
We should... That's hilarious. I think we should
raffle off a box of items. $100.
The bidding starts at $100.
One onion.
And some cat hair. Of course, that I put into little balls. And nobody likes it except for me.
Volume 3 of a graphic novel collection.
We have that string of hearts that you got on Valentine's Day that you never opened. Those.
No, those are mine.
No, I'm putting them in the box.
No. Some dirt.
Oh, we got some dead plants. You want them?
You want them?
They're yours. $10. If you join our Patreon, if you're thinking, this sounds so fun.
I want a box of cat hair for $100.
Where can I sign up? If you join our Patreon for just $3, you join Team Troll, where you get access to our Discord and all the fun that comes along with that.
And then at the $7 tier, Story Babies get all of that stuff, plus a monthly bonus episode. This is a full-length episode that we are only releasing on the Patreon.
It's very fun.
And maybe you'll get early access to episodes before they drop.
If we can figure out how to do that. Listen, we're learning new every day.
The lesson is you promise big and you deliver small.
Yeah. Well, that's our lesson. If you pay us $100, we're going to give you something so cool from our house, and you open it up and it's about a bunch of dirt and some cat hair. And a handwritten note from Max saying, story idea, lovely lady moms.
It's true.
You gotta listen to the outro for that. So go join that. You can find that on our website, sortofthestory.com, and also in our show notes. It's linked to our Patreon.
There's also links to all of our socials on our website and in the show notes. So if you are interested in our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Goodreads, bookshop.org affiliate account, or anything else, That's where it is. We put it all on the website.
And we didn't say this, but along with the Discord comes access to the book club channel where we are reading books together every once in a while and then discussing them. And Max and I, once we finish them, do an episode just for those people and also whoever wants to listen to it on the Discord. And that's very fun. Right now, the book we're reading is Tamlin by Pamela Dean, which I erroneously thought was going to be a drugstore little paperback and ended up being a 500-page, I almost said word. 500 words!
I'm on word 300, and you will not believe the twist.
I don't even know 500 words. It's like a 500-page giant piece of literature that's about classics, like, it just, like, ranges all these, like, classical poems and, like, early, like medieval texts and manuscripts, and all of these fucking college students in the 1970s just quote Shakespeare and poetry off the tops of their heads, and, like, very little about actual Tamlin is being said. It's beautifully written, and what a slog. And somebody was like, are you guys gonna be mad at me? I made it to chapter 4, and I'm so deeply unhappy in my life because this book is so hard to read. Anyway, if you're one of those people, guess what? You're gonna get a whole extra episode where Max and I read the story, and then we talk about it and we recap it, so it's almost like you read it too. Mm-hmm. And then you can brag to all your friends that you read a cool book.
I read 500 whole words, you could say to them.
You could technically tell them that anytime.
It's not illegal. It's just a lie.
We checked.
Well, Janey.
Yes.
Here's my question for you.
Sure, please ask me.
Did you bring me a story this week?
I brought you a big boy.
Thanks.
Yeah. Do you want to just get started?
Yeah,
since it's such a big boy.
A big old lad. Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Goodbye. Okay, Max.
Janey.
Max, okay. For episode 75, decided to celebrate by going back to one of my favorite sources, the Bible.
We're here to talk to you a little bit about the Bible.
Ever heard of it? I don't want to say I'm better than you, but I have read the Bible. But for real, I'm telling you another story from the Bible.
Love it. We've said this in episodes before, but when we talk about, like, religious texts and things like that, to be really clear, this is a story podcast. We are talking about the stories themselves and not necessarily their religious impact or, like, cultural weight.
Kind of stepped on my toes. I was just about to tell him I'm an idiot.
Well, and also Janey's an idiot. So we've mentioned this before, but just be aware that Janey's really dumb.
This one especially. No, but for real, this one especially, when I talk about stories from the Bible, I am purely going off of a storytelling standpoint. And also, the way I like to tell any story is, especially like mythology and like ancient texts, is I like to find the first time you hear a character mentioned and then go through every source I can find about them to have a cohesive narrative. So think about it that way, because I'm not doing a story like Samson and Delilah today. Today I'm talking about the prophet Elijah. And I don't know why. And I'm going to be talking very flippantly. This might seem, if you are somebody who is very religious, I'm not asking you to turn off a religious brain, but I am asking you to understand that I do not change how I speak in any story we tell.
Nope.
And I'm not making a comment on modern religion. I'm making a comment on stories that I read, which are bananas, and the Bible is so fun.
Are there bananas in the Bible?
Oh. Hey, sound off in the Discord. Are there any bananas in the Bible?
Did you know that things that are banana flavored are actually flavored after a species of banana that went extinct in the middle of the 20th century? So when they started making banana flavored things, there were bananas that tasted like
artificial flavoring?
Yeah, that tasted like what we think of now as like banana flavored, you know? But those went extinct. So
that's
the reason why banana flavoring doesn't taste like bananas is because the bananas that it's flavored after no longer exist.
Do you think instead of bringing back woolly mammoths, scientists should be bringing back artificial bananas?
That shit is bananas.
Oh, you know what? That's a whole other off-topic episode in the making.
Is that also Fergie? Is this the Fergie episode?
No, B as Bananas is Gwen Stefani, you fucking troglodyte.
God, I feel so bad. It is specifically not Fergie. It is a diss track towards Fergie. It is.
It is. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Stories of Elijah. What do you know about the prophet Elijah?
I know I have a friend, Elijah.
We do have a friend named Elijah. Shout out!
I don't think I know anything about the prophet Elijah, as far as I know.
All I know about the prophet Elijah is that when I skim through the Bible, which I do periodically, actually I do a lot. I skim, sometimes I just sit down and giggle to myself and kick my feet at how sexy the Psalms are.
You're fucking weird, dude.
I didn't think this is where I was going to be as a very agnostic person, but here I am. I was raised Catholic, and if you guys are Catholic the way I was Catholic, which was Filipino magic Catholic, you believe in things like fairies and witches and magic, and you kind of like the devils a little bit.
And also our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Get his name out your mouth. But you didn't read the Bible a whole lot. Every once in a while, like a priest would go up there and read part of it to you while you zoned out and you thought about what lunch we were going to get after church. Mm-hmm. Ooh, after church lunch was so good. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
I would just, growing up, my family went to a Presbyterian church when I was really young. Mm-hmm. We sort of fell out of practice around when my brother was born.
We don't want to say that he's the reason why they don't have God in their lives, but Ryan...
We don't believe in God anymore.
We're looking at... After Ryan was born, we just didn't believe in God anymore.
No, kind enough, God would bestow that child upon us.
There's actually no room for both God and Ryan in the same house. So, I don't know.
But I've always had attention difficulties, and I wasn't diagnosed until like 2 years ago. I would literally just count. The whole time. The whole time. I would just count. I would say, all right, now I'm going to count to...
Until church was over.
Yeah, until church was over. All right, now I'm going to count to 80. And then I would count to 80. I'd be like, all right, now I'm going to count to 81. And start over and count to 81.
Counting is fun.
Yeah, I
am a bit of an obsessive counter that has been getting steadily worse over the last 5 years. I don't know if you know that, but I can't have anything that's a repetitive noise without me counting along with it as if it's like a cool song. Which is why I go so hard on my students when they're tapping in class. I'm like, you have to stop because
You've
full
tapped 27 times.
My full concentration just stops because my brain will be like, N1, N2, N3, N4. I'm like, stop! I don't like repetitive noises.
A couple days ago, Janey and I were sitting on the couch and watching a movie.
No big deal, but we hang out.
And Janey had a little salt shaker and she put some salt on her food.
Oh no.
And then she looked at me with the most, like, regretful and sorrowful and apologetic look on her face and just tossed some salt over her shoulder. Because she doesn't only do it when she spills salt. Anytime she uses salt, which is a lot, because you love salt.
I really love salt. There is salt everywhere.
Our whole house is covered in salt. She looked me dead in the eyes and made a face that said, I am so goddamn sorry. And then just threw salt onto the couch over her shoulder.
And I really wanted to just that be it, but Max was like, why? I was like, you know why?
Every time I sit down on the couch, I get a salty ass.
You're welcome.
It's because of you.
You're welcome. You're my little salt bae. All right. Okay, the prophet Elijah. What you should know about Elijah right off the bat is every time I read anything about Elijah... Actually, and this is going to be controversial, every time I read anything about any of the prophets, part of me just like, infinite eye roll, my eyes go back into my head and get stuck for like an hour. Because I don't like anything they have to say about women. And then after that, I stop listening to them. I'm like, you know what? Actually, no, I'm not interested. Because the Bible can be pretty misogynistic. But that's what I knew about Elijah. That being said, I was thinking about some of the stories of Elijah, which we will go into, which I am very excited about. And I was like, I keep hearing about Elijah, and I have only ever had like weird little blurbs in my head of things that kept me from reading the stories of Elijah. And I really wanted to like figure out what else has this guy got to say. So I went back to the beginning to figure out Elijah's life, and it's pretty wild. And so we're going to talk about it. Are you ready?
Yeah, a question.
Yes.
Does this have anything to do with that movie, The Book of Eli?
I don't know. Should we watch that after this? Accompanying text, watching the movie Book of Eli.
I don't have any desire to necessarily watch that movie, but...
Isn't that about people not having babies? And the world ending because of it?
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Okay, it's time for us to stop the podcast real quick and watch the Book of Eli. Okay, so actually probably it might be. Who knows?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start with chapter 1, Elijah's humble beginnings.
Elijah was born at a young age.
Okay, so first we have to start with, there was once a king named Ahab, right? Who did, this was his quote about Ahab, quote, did more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him. Which was hard because Ahab was part of a kind of a fucked up line of kings. And he was like the best one at being fucked up. So go Ahab.
Not even to mention all the whale crimes.
I tried to search Ahab. I was like, Ahab, when's the first time Ahab is mentioned? And they were like, when did Ahab kill the whale? And I was like, was there a whale story in the Bible that I would like? It took me too long to remember.
And Ahab and the whale and Elijah.
I thought for sure that I was about to find out that Ahab and Jonah were somehow. I was like, was he the king during Jonah? Am I not? These texts don't say anything. And no, again, disclaimer, I'm an idiot. I forgot about Moby Dick. Okay, his downfall, Ahab's, though, wasn't
hubris.
Any of his own actions. I don't even think it was hubris. No. It was his marriage to an evil woman named Jezebel.
Oh, Jezebel!
Yeah! Do you know anything about Jezebel?
I know in Good Omens, when the Witchfinder General calls his lady friend a Jezebel, I think that that's really cute and good.
It is cute and good. But we're going to talk about her, too. Mm-hmm. Jezebel hated the Jews because... Were you not ready?
No! What the fuck, Jezebel?
Jezebel hated the Jews. She was a pagan, and she convinced Ahab to devote himself away from the one true God, Yahweh, to the false gods, to the false gods, Baal, Baal.
Oh, isn't he one of the princes of hell?
And Asherah, which God thought was super uncool. Baal is, they also call him sometimes Baalzebub. And later on, of course, Beelzebub. Yeah, he's one of the 9 princes of hell.
More like Beelzebuls.
Beelzebuls. I'm going to call him Baal because it's funnier. Okay, so Jezebel was this hot pagan woman who worshipped Baal, which in today's Christianity would be the same as people openly worshiping Satan and stuff. Mm-hmm. What?
Baal is life. Continue.
The Baal religion had many gods, and also to practice ritual sex and had, quote, temple prostitutes. We're going to talk more on sacred prostitution later. It's fucked up. So she seduced King Ahab. She convinced him to convert to her religion, and then she started a baby war between the Jews and the Baals.
Between the babies?
Yeah, the Jewish Baals and the babies' Baals.
No.
But she had to continually convince Ahab that her gods were the right ones to follow, right? It was just a constant thing for her. So she was always looking for opportunities to prove that worshiping Baal and
Baal
and having all of this ritualistic sex and these crazy orgies was the way to go, right? Mm-hmm. And by doing this, soon everyone in his kingdom was worshiping Baal, and God was mad at them. Mm-hmm. It's excuse me. So one day, a prophet from Tishbe in Gilead named Elijah shows up, and he tells Ahab that God was mad, and if he didn't stop this craziness, God was going to bring a little baby 3.5-year drought that was going to kill everything if Ahab didn't start worshiping the one true God. And after this, Elijah dips, because everyone is about to get real crusty, and he doesn't want to be there for that. God told him, not you, Elijah, my special baby boy. You should go east and, quote, hide yourself by the brook Cherith. Apparently this was going to be the only source of water for a while, and it was all for Elijah. And so he goes, and he's like, but God, what about food? I'm going to have water, but how am I going to get, any food to eat?
Fish.
And God says, no, God has something better planned. Are you ready?
Girl,
he says, quote, I have commanded the ravens to feed you. So he goes to the brook east of the Jordan, and he drinks the water, and every day ravens just randomly bring him bread and meat. And I'm like, are they making the bread? Are they stealing the bread? Is this manna from heaven? There's no word on where the bread came from.
I love the idea of 2 crows or 2 ravens just carrying a pot roast between them.
Here you go!
Dropping it on a man.
For Elijah every day. He's like walking around hunched over with his head covered with his hands.
He has a very sturdy umbrella that he's built.
And little meatballs are just pinging off of it.
Oh, Cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
That's what this is about. Meatballs. BAAL.
Ah.
Anyway, so this is going to be really hard to get through. However, after a little while of feeling pretty smug about his raven servants and his like private little brook, it dried up because it wasn't raining anywhere. And he was like, hey, God, I don't know, forgive me. I thought that you said that this was going to keep me alive and now it's dry. And so God tells Elijah, hey, don't worry. Now you're going to go to a widow in Zarephath whom I have commanded to feed you. And so Elijah does as he's told. He walks over to Zarephath and he finds this widow gathering sticks. And he calls out to her with no introductions. He says, bring me a little water in a vessel that I may drink. And she like stands up and looks around. She's like in the woods with a bunch of sticks. And she's like, sure. And so she starts to walk to him to give him some water. And then he says, oh, also bring me a morsel of bread in your hand. And she says,
hand feed me some bread.
Yeah, like a raven does. So she says, no can do. I am so sorry. I don't have anything baked. In fact, it's none of your business. But all I have is like a little handful of flour in a jar. And I have a little bit of oil in a jug. And I'm gathering these sticks to like make the last little bit of bread so that my son and I can eat. Because if we don't, we're going to starve to death like today. And also he's really sick and he needs it. So no, you can't have any. And Elijah's like, no, don't worry. Okay, don't worry. What you should do.
Is he gathering sticks? Is she gathering sticks to put in the bread?
No, she's going to light a fire.
Okay.
So he says, like, no, don't worry. Okay, I hear you. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go and you're going to make that little bit of bread, okay? And then you're going to bring it out to me and I'm going to eat it.
No, shh, don't worry.
Just give me the bread.
Give me a treat.
And he says, but afterward, you should make something for yourself because you look hungry. Now, you might be thinking stupidly, wait, but she just said she only had enough for her son, and you'd be wrong and stupid. God had told Elijah, quote, the jar of flour shall not be spent, and the jug of oil shall not be empty until the day that the Lord sends rain upon the earth. And so this unnamed widow, because why name her, acting purely on faith, she goes home, she makes Elijah his bread with what little flour and oil she had, and then when she gives it to him and goes back to her kitchen, I'm sure being like, God, I hope I didn't just make a mistake. Her little boy's in the corner like, Mama.
Peace, Mama, I'm so hungry. I'm going to die. Please, Mama.
And she's like, I found a man in the woods that really wanted the last of our bread. I don't know, man. But miraculously, she goes back and she finds that the jars are completely full again. And so with this blessing from the Lord, she and her son and Elijah eat well for like many days.
Just bread.
they well, bread. For many days.
They are very bloated.
They need some of those raining meatballs, but the ravens are doing something else.
They are busy.
So soon after this, though, the widow's son falls extremely ill. He has been sick this whole time, but like now he is on death's doorstep. Like he has basically stopped breathing. He is super pale. He's not responsive anymore. And the widow is really angry about this. And she kind of starts to blame Elijah because she's like, you're a prophet from God. My son wasn't this bad until you got here. Like, are you here to punish me for my sins? Is that why you're killing my son? Like, what the fuck? And so Eli goes to God and I don't know if I can call him Eli, actually. That was too formal or too informal. So Elijah prays to God and he tells him, quote, Lord my God, have you brought calamity even upon the widow with whom I sojourn by killing her son? This is a side note, and this is because I'm not a biblical scholar, so I don't know the answer to this, but like a lot of the prophets actively yell at God and like chastise him for some of the actions that he makes, and that feels like a no-no, right? Like, if you insult God, he could like take back his blessings, you know? He's like, well, fine. Like, I was actively feeding you guys. The only reason why he hasn't starved to death is because of me. Like, anyway, it feels dangerous.
Yeah.
But the child, of course, after Elijah plays 3, it's hard not to say Eli. After Elijah prays 3 times over him, comes back to life again. He's like, what? I'm alive now. That's the quote from the Bible.
Oh, yeah. What? I'm alive now, saith the child.
And this settles it for the widow, who now fully believes that Elijah is a man of God. And Elijah is now on his way to becoming the Bible's most powerful prophet.
What does that mean?
He's raising children from the dead now. And he was commanding ravens for a short time, so...
What happened?
Elijah sounds like maybe a necromancer.
That's part of his, that's part of, like, miracles and stuff in the Bible.
Like a fucked up warlock of some kind.
All right, well, now you're getting a little further away from this.
You're saying there's no warlocks in the Bible? Pull the other one, buddy.
Okay, so now we're going back to Ahab and Jezebel. Remember them?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, the king whom God is punishing with a drought, Ahab. His evil, sexy wife, Jezebel, she sees this drought and she's like, ooh, an opportunity for me to prove that my gods are even better. And so she brings in 450 Baal priests from Phoenicia, which is where she's from.
Mm-hmm.
And they did like this whole song and dance. That's like, quote, they do a whole song and dance.
Oh, literally?
They also murdered a bunch of Yahweh's priests and prophets. And then they're like, this will stop the drought. They're like hopping up and down and stuff and like murdering people.
Doing the Macarena, but like, then also like
Bring
with a sword.
back the water. Hi! So they've been doing this for 3.5 years and it has not been working and they've murdered so many of Yahweh's prophets.
At some point you should stop doing murder and try something else.
Dig a well.
Just a thought, yeah.
So Elijah goes back after 3.5 years and he challenged the 450 prophets to a competition on Mount Carmel.
A dance-off?
A dance-off?
I know what's wrong.
He's like, you guys, me, playing ball on Mount Carmel.
I'll see you on the court, motherfucker.
Okay, so this is the challenge. He says, whoever's deity is real should be able to set a fire to a sacrificial bull just by divine intervention.
What did the bull do?
Was born.
He didn't ask to be born.
Easy peasy for a real god, right?
Mm-hmm.
But would 450 false prophets be able to make a bull spontaneously combust? Stay tuned to find out.
Now, a word from our sponsors.
Patreon.
That's the word. And back to the story.
No. The end. Jezebel's 450 prophets, quote, performed a hopping dance upon the altar. And they also tried self-mutilation, but that didn't work, and they were out of ideas. They did this for like an entire day, 24 straight hours. It was like a dance-a-thon. Nothing worked. There were no results. The bull was just eating grass and just crushing ass. But the second it was Elijah's turn, he began to pray, and the Lord delivered a fire that consumed, quote, the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, and the earth. Like, God for real started a forest fire in the middle of a drought. Like, that's too much fire.
Did it also consume the 450 false prophets?
Oh, don't worry about them. Because at this point, all of the people that were watching flung themselves down to the earth that was on fire and declared their allegiance to the one true God. And then Elijah took a victory lap and slaughtered all 450 of the pagan prophets. Like, by himself? Or was he just pointing and God was setting him on fire? He's doing like this really nice little dance and everywhere he points just like bursts into flame.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So the Lord rewarded him and the new converts by ending the drought. And embarrassed, Jezebel sent Elijah a death threat and then he went on the run. She's like, hey, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And he's like, goodbye. Peace. So now we're at 1 Kings 19. While on the run, Elijah gets a message from God telling him to anoint 2 kings, as well as a man named Elisha as a prophet. Elisha. Elisha.
Mm-hmm.
Elisha.
Alicious. That's Fergie's sister.
Alicious.
Fergie and Delicious.
Ferg Alicious. He does this, and Elijah and Elisha become buds. And just remember that for later, okay? Elisha is a guy.
Okay, cool.
Believe it or not, this is not the end of Jezebel and Ahab's marriage. They're still very much in love, even though now Jezebel is searching for even more ways to keep Ahab interested in balls. And then I wrote, ha! Bals. Why? What are you thinking?
ball nonstop.
It just so happens that there is a vineyard owned by a man named Naboth.
What a coincidence.
It just so happens there's this vineyard owned by a man named Naboth that Ahab really wants to buy. What were you doing? She just reached, she's like reaching over my notes and blowing onto my notes.
We're on a compacted setup on one mic because...
Oh, we forgot to say that. Yeah, my mic, she's not doing well.
She's sick.
I managed to fix the light that tells me the microphone is on, but apparently that's all I fixed and the actual microphone is still very much broken.
So we're like right next to each other and Janey keeps almost hitting me in the face with her pages. So I
just blowing all over. Get out of here.
No, you get out of here.
It looked a little bit like you were trying to read my notes over it, and it took me a while to realize that you were blowing on them.
I'm just going to take a little bite.
It just so happens that there's a vineyard owned by a man named Naboth that Ahab really wants. He tries to buy the vineyard, but Naboth refuses because it's his family inheritance, meaning he needs to like pass it down to his children so they can always have a source of income. He can't just accept like a one-time price now. Like, it makes sense. And also, it's his vineyard. Like, it's a generational thing. No. Sorry, king, I'm not going to sell it to you.
Also, he's already the king. He doesn't get to have everything he wants.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Just be happy being a king.
Well, he's not. Ahab is pissed. And Jezebel jumps on this fury, and she sees it as an opportunity to be more evil. So she rubs her hands together, Mr. Burns style. She's like... And she tells him that it's time for him to prove that he's a true king. And then she says, I'll get the vineyard for you. And I'm like, wait a minute. She's like, be a true king and let your wife handle this.
I mean...
Hey, she's not wrong. And then thunder claps and an evil little music sting sounds. And it like zooms in onto her face. Yeah. So she forges Ahab's signature on a letter. She's really into letter writing. Mm-hmm. And she accuses Naboth of blaspheming God, using their new devotion to one God against the townspeople. And a bunch of people show up at his vineyard, and then Jezebel incites a riot, urging the crowd to take him out and stone him to death, which they do. And then after Naboth dies, his property is taken over by the royal family, who's like, I guess nobody else is going to claim this, so I might as well. And his family's like, we'll claim it.
No, you won't.
What? So Elijah, at this point, gets a message from God, and God says, like, deliver this to Ahab. Quote, would you murder and take possession? In the very place where the dogs lapped up Naboth's blood, the dogs will lap up your blood too. Mm-hmm. However, sneaky little Elijah does not give this message to Ahab. He delivers it to Jezebel instead, telling her that she's going to be torn apart by wild dogs. Can you just change... Like, God told him, give this to Ahab, and he's like, no, we're giving it to Jezebel, and shut your mouth. Seems weird.
Mind your business, God.
Hey, God, I like the message, but I'm going to deliver it to whoever I want. You get to do that. Anyway, I was a little bit like, you're pretty bold, Ahab. No, Elijah. So... Ahab eventually died in a battle. Don't worry about it. And afterwards, Moab rebelled against Israel, and things were really bad for a really long time. So there's like wars going on constantly in the Old Testament, okay? During this time, a king named Ahaziah had fallen through this lattice of his upper room in Samaria and had injured himself. And when I hear that, I think, you know, if you even step wrong after the age of 28, your whole back just like crumbles like Jenga blocks. I think that's what happened to him. And so Ahaziah sent some messengers to ask Beelzebub. And then I wrote, oh my God, is this Beelzebub? This is where I put it together. And he says, like, ask him if I'll ever recover from these slip discs. Yeah.
Does God have any recommendations for, like, an aspirin alternative?
Does Beelzebub know a good chiropractor? Sincerely, Ahaziah. So, before they could ask Baal, though, an angel appeared to Elijah and told him to intercept the messengers and to let them know that unless Ahaziah started believing in one God, he'd die in his bed. A good day. And so the messengers turned around and they let the king know what Elijah had said. And Ahaziah asked them, who the hell told you that? And they respond with, okay, this is what he looked like. We don't know. Quote, he had a garment of hair and had a leather belt around his waist. Leather daddy wearing a wig. Got it.
Sure. Anything else? Was he wearing other clothes?
He was wearing a garment of hair.
Oh, so he had long hair that he had wrapped around himself like a dress.
Ooh, he had made one of those cool braided hair harnesses and also had a leather belt. So Ahaziah sent a captain of his army with 50 men to go fetch Elijah. He's like, bring him here to me. And Elijah's sitting at the top of a hill, and they tell him, hey, man of God, get on down here. And Elijah responds, quote, if I am a man of God, may he set fire to you and your men. And then God did. He burned them all to death. So the king sent another 50 men, and they were also burnt to death by God, who apparently asks no questions and takes no prisoners.
It kind of sounds like God is Elijah's attack dog.
So, quick death toll. Yeah. Elijah, with God's help, has now murdered 450 false prophets and 102 members of Ahaziah's military. That's a lot of people. It's not as many as Samson,
no,
who killed the men by the thousands and burned entire villages down to the ground, but, you know.
Yeah.
So when the king sent a third group of 50 men, having learned 0 lessons, this captain walks up super humble, and he's like, oh, hi, you're so cool. Would you mind quickly, first of all, having mercy on us? Second of all, really quickly coming down so we can chat with you, like, no funny business. I am a humble servant of the Lord. And Elijah's like, okay, yeah, I'll come down. So Elijah tells Ahaziah to his face what the Lord had said. He'd die if he didn't convert. And just as Elijah had predicted, he died in his bed. And since he had no son, his kingdom was taken by one of Ahab's sons, Joram. So now we're going to Jezebel's grisly end. A little while later, Elisha, remember him? Fergie's sister. That prophet Elijah anointed earlier, is prompted to tell Jehu, a military commander, that he needs to become the new king of Israel. Ahab had already died at the battle of Ramoth Gilead, and one of his sons was dead too. And Elisha tells Jehu that this isn't enough. He has to murder the rest of the family. Women, children, everyone's got to go. Like, salt the earth. Like, nobody from that line can go, or can survive. So in an insanely cinematic confrontation, Jehu meets with Joram, the son of Ahab and Jezebel, on the battlefield, right? And Joram says, is all well, Jehu? And Jehu responds with, quote, how can all be well as long as your mother Jezebel carries on her countless harlotries and sorceries? And then before Joram can open his mouth to respond, he sends an arrow flying into his heart. He doesn't even wait for a response. He's like, your mother's a whore. Kill.
Fuck, dude.
I really liked that passage. Jezebel, knowing that she's reached her end, prepares herself to die. She makes herself really sexy, right?
Sure.
She puts kohl around her eyes, she gets her hair done, she dresses in her fanciest dress, and then she waits in an upper window of the palace. And Jehu arrives. He's drenched in blood. He's galloping up on a bloody horse, and he orders Jezebel's eunuchs to toss her out of the palace. And this is how her death is described. It's gnarly. Quote, they threw her down, like out the window. They threw her down. Yep. And her blood spattered on the wall and on the horses, and they trampled her. Then Jehu went inside and ate and drank. And then when he was done with his meal, he ordered his servants to, quote, attend to that cursed woman and bury her, for she was a king's daughter. But when they go out to find her body, there was only a skull, her feet, and the palms of her hands left, because wild dogs had eaten the rest of her, just like Elijah had predicted. Specifically, this is what Elijah said. Quote, the dogs shall devour the flesh of Jezebel, and the carcass of Jezebel shall be like dung on the ground, so that none will be able to say, this was Jezebel.
Fuck.
Okay, so here's some quick notes about her before we move on. We're almost done. But we use the word Jezebel today, 2,000 years later. Like you mentioned, it's all over pop culture. Like, it's used to describe any bad woman, sexual deviant, or like femme fatale, right?
Yeah.
There are movies and there are plays about Jezebel. There are Jezebel archetypes in everything. And even the Bible still mentions her later in like a derogatory way. She actually comes back in Revelations, which is a New Testament book, I believe, right? So she comes back in Revelations 2:20 as a prophet, and she encourages servants to have sex with each other and to eat the animals that had been sacrificed to the gods. So she comes back just as evil as always.
Sure.
So there's this biblical scholar at the University of New Mexico named Janet Howe Gaines, and this is a quote from her. I thought it was cool. Quote, Jezebel became a convenient scapegoat for misogynistic biblical writers who tagged her as the primary force behind Israel's apostasy. Which is true. She says, every biblical word condemns her. Jezebel is an outspoken woman in a time when females have little status and few rights, a foreigner in a xenophobic land. Remember, she was from Phoenicia. An idol worshiper in a place with a Yahweh-based, state-sponsored religion. A murderer and a meddler in political affairs in a nation of strong patriarchs. A traitor in a country where no ruler is above the law. And a whore in the territory where the Ten Commandments originate. So,
damn.
This reminded me a little bit about the stories of the fox spirit Tamama no Mae from episode 21. Remember when I told you about the killing stone? So that episode is called Sweaty Butts in a Meat Forest, quote, parentheses, a heist gone wrong. And it's basically just the same old story, where women are blamed for turning their royal husbands evil and causing the downfall of society, and no blame is really put on the men that do horrible actions. In this case, though, she actively murdered someone and then forged the signature, so, like, I don't know. Okay, so now Elijah goes to heaven.
Rip.
After this, Elijah and Elisha are told by God that Elijah's going to be taken up to heaven soon. There will be no body left behind. He's just going up full of meat and juices.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
Leave that meat on the ground.
Nope. He's going to be carried off by ravens who are going to drop him on the brook of somebody else's. Elijah told Elisha, like, hey, dude, this is a quote from the Bible. Hey, dude. Thanks for hanging out with me and all, but God wants me to go to Bethel before I go to heaven, so, like, I'll see you later. And Elisha's like, oh, I have nothing else to do. I'll just go with you. So they go to Bethel together.
Aw, boys trip.
Yeah. A bunch of prophets meet them at Bethel and tell Elisha, quote, did you know the Lord is going to take your master from you today? And Elisha responds, quote, yes, I know, so be quiet. Salty. He's like, how do you know? I thought I was special. They wait for a bit for God to take Elijah, quote, up to heaven in a whirlwind. But soon, Elijah goes to Elisha and says, hey man, that was a false alarm. God's sending me to Jericho real quick before this whole heaven thing, so seriously, you just stay here and chill. And Elisha's like, absolutely not. I want to see the whirlwind take you to heaven. Thank you. I'm just going to go with you. And Elijah's like, fine. Come to Jericho then. So they go to Jericho. A bunch of prophets go to Elisha and they're like, hey, we heard God's taking Elijah up to heaven today. Did you know that? And Elisha's like, yeah, I know. Be quiet. And so Elijah comes over to Elisha again and says, I got the dates mixed up. It's not today. God wants me to go to Jordan first, like to the Jordan, the river. So like, I'm just going to bounce. Seriously, you stay here. It's really inconvenient that I keep dragging you all over the place. And Elisha's like, I'm going with you. Stop acting like I'm not going with you. All right. I'm going. And they keep walking.
It's a real Frodo and Sam situation.
Yeah. It also, this is the Bible, so it ends differently, but it reminds me of all those like cult leaders are like, the world's gonna end to this day. God told me. And then the world doesn't end. They're like, ooh, did I get the dates mixed up? Daylight saving time really, I don't know. I forgot about the leap years. So 50 men walk with them to the Jordan, and they stand at a distance as Elijah took off his cloak, rolled it up, and then struck the water with it. And I imagine, you know how you, like, roll up a towel and then flick it at somebody's butt?
Yeah.
I imagine that's what Elijah did to the water. The water parted, and the two walked across the river on dry ground. It's like some real magic. When they got across, Elijah asked Elisha, like, what can I do for you when I'm taken by God? Is there anything I can give you? Like, you've been walking with me a really long time. Like, what can I do?
New shoes?
And Elisha responds with this baffling statement, quote, let me inherit a double portion of your spirit.
What?
Yeah, let me inherit a double portion of your spirit, please. 2 for me. And Elijah's also pretty confused by this. He's like, what a puzzle. What does that mean? And so he says, okay, yeah, listen, if you see me taken, sure, you can have a double dose of whatever you're asking for. But if you miss it for some reason, then, like, don't blame me if you don't get that weird thing you asked for.
Whatever it is.
And as they're walking on, suddenly they are separated by a chariot of fire and horses of fire. And a whirlwind of fire!
Oh my god.
Swirls around the chariot, and Elijah is taken up to heaven, body and all, in fire.
Toasty.
Yeah. This is not how I imagine heaven.
A roasty, toasty boy.
He's like sucked up through flu powder. What's this about? So Elisha picks up Elijah's cloak, which has fallen out of the chariot of fire, and he brings it back to the Jordan, and he struck the water with the cloak, as Elijah had done before, and the water parted for him.
Ooh,
yeah.
Magic cloak.
So the prophets saw this, and they insisted they go and see if Elijah was, like, hiding down the road or something, or, like, if the Lord had just picked him up and then set him on top of a mountain or something. They're like, let's just go see. Maybe he's, like, at the top of a tree, like he fell out of the whirlwind. It's best to go check. So they go and they check, and then when they come back, they tell Elisha, oh, he wasn't there. And Elisha says, well, yeah, He was taking a bite. I literally told you that. Duh. And that was the end of Elijah.
Rip.
R.I.P. But here's a passage right after this from 2 Kings 2:23-25 to show what kind of prophet Elisha's going to be, okay? Mm-hmm. This is the last thing I'm going to read from the Bible.
He's going to be a double Elijah.
Elijah. Quote, Elisha went up to Bethel. As he was walking along the road, some boys came out of the town and jeered at him. Get out of here, Baldy, they said. Get out of here, Baldy!
For real?
Yes, they say that twice. He turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. And he went on to Mount Carmel, and from there he returned to Samaria.
Alicia's really abusing power from moment one.
He just murdered 42 little boys through the power of bears.
In fairness, if 42 little boys ran up to me and were like, you're bald!
Hey, like, you fucking idiot!
That's a lot of boys. I would be a little scared.
He's like, God, take care of them. And God's like, I got you, bro.
It's wild that the Bible starts off with one murder being like the worst thing that's ever happened in history and then continues to, like, the Cain and Abel story.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, what about, like, 42 boys dead? What about that?
What about that? What about Samson kills everybody alive and the race starts over? Oh, that's too much? We already did that? All right. He only kills 1,000. So I got, by the way, I have a bunch of sources in the show notes. There's just too many to really list here. And most of them are obviously from the Bible.
Sure.
I did put a bunch of like passages and stuff like that you can just read these straight off of like different sources. So you can go check that out. The last thing I want to talk about really quickly is a note on sacred prostitution. Have you ever heard of this?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So sacred prostitution, it's kind of a controversial topic amongst scholars. And it doesn't have like, obviously every city didn't have the exact same requirements for what sacred prostitution was, but it's kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's prostitution in the name of the Lord. So in Sumer, for example, many people believe that kings would have ritual sex with fertility priestesses to honor Inanna, the Sumerian goddess of sexual love, fertility, and warfare, later on called Ishtar. There doesn't seem to be many texts that actually mention full-on sexual intercourse being part of these rituals, and so it's kind of disputed among scholars, but that's just like an example, right? Mm-hmm. It's the idea of like, in order to properly worship these gods, sex has to be involved, right?
Yeah.
And then there was also, of course, thought to be sacred prostitution rituals performed in Phoenicia, which is where Jezebel was from. So these would have been in honor of Adonis, most likely. And they would have involved both men and women, would have been giving it up for Adonis. And then this is the worst description, though, because all of those are pretty tame. You know, it's like, that's thought to be like an honor. Mm-hmm. This is just a thing. But this is the worst description I could find. It's about Babylon, and it's described by Herodotus, who is a famous Greek historian and geographer. So this is like the trigger warning for this is pretty. It's kind of sad, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like a super trigger warning, but just know. This is a quote. The phallus Babylonian custom is that which compels every woman of the land to sit in the temple of Aphrodite and have intercourse with some stranger at least once in her life. Every single woman in Babylon.
Jesus.
Many women who are rich and proud and disdain to mingle with the rest drive to the temple in covered carriages drawn by teams and stand there with a great retinue of attendants. But most sit down in the sacred plot of Aphrodite, just in the grass, with crowns of cord on their heads. There is a great multitude of women coming and going. Passages marked by line run every way through the crowd, by which the men pass and make their choice. Once a woman has taken her place there, she does not go away to her home before some stranger has cast money into her lap and had intercourse with her outside the temple. But while he casts the money, he must say, quote, I invite you in the name of Mylida. It does not matter what the sum of money is. The woman is never allowed to refuse. So they can pass her a bunch of money or like a single coin, and they are not allowed to say no. She follows the first man who casts it and rejects no one, because the money being made by this act is now sacred. After their intercourse, having discharged her sacred duty to the goddess, she goes away to her home, and thereafter there is no bribe, however great, that will get her. So then the women that are fair and tall are soon free to depart, but the uncomely have long to wait because they cannot fulfill the law, for some of them remain for 3 years or 4. There is a custom like this in some parts of Cyprus as well. That's the quote.
Jesus.
Meaning, there are some women who men didn't think were pretty enough to, like, pay to have sex with them, and they were never allowed to leave or go home again. They had to set up camp and basically beg people to have sex with them so they can go home.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's sacred prostitution. Historians have traced evidence of, they're called the Horae, these women that were involved in these practices of sexual worship. They've traced evidence of them in various guises throughout the ancient world as far back as 6000 BC. In some cultures, women would have seen the act as like the highest form of worship and an honor. And of course, reading that passage from Herodotus, from his book, The Histories, reading it through a modern lens is like horrendous, horrific, but it was kind of considered a way of life in a lot of these places. And I put some links to sacred prostitution, and there's including one, it's like an Irish source that's like, actually, this was good, and women loved this. And I'm like, great, well, don't read Herodotus. It doesn't sound like ugly women liked this.
Nope.
Anyway, that's the story of Elijah the prophet.
Pretty good.
Okay, another Bible story for the books.
For the Bible.
For the, specifically, the books of the Bible.
Lord.
This one's for the Lord. Cool, Max. That was a long
Janey.
one.
I got a short one.
Ooh. Do you have anything you want to say, or do you want to just take a break? Would you be a Jezebel?
I don't understand the question. I would be an evil wife.
I'd be a real bad wife.
Anti-Semitic.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and that's where we draw the line. All right. Yes to being an evil wife. No to being anti-Semitic. And honestly, I think that's pretty cool.
Also, I have a lot of respect for the U.S. Postal Service, and I would never mail something that had been forged.
Yeah.
The mail is sacred.
Truly her most evil act. It kind of was. She straight up burned some. It reminded, this is so stupid, but also it reminded me, I kept thinking about January 6th.
Jesus.
And really, she's just a female Trump, so.
Yikes.
Would you be a Jezebel now?
No.
Cool.
Are you trying to trick me?
Yeah. Well, with that, we're going to take a break and go rethink Max's life choices. Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, Janey.
Oh my God, hello. That was so high.
It really was. It was like the, you know when
That's a glass breaking too.
you know when like a smoke detector is out of batteries and it makes that really high pitched beeping sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
carbon
tone that I just
monoxide, like. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a story for you today. It's kind of a little one, but I'm excited about it.
Okay.
It's called The Boy Who Wanted More Cheese.
Is the boy you, Max? Or are you the boy?
No.
This does sound a little bit like a story you would write for Francis.
That's a boy who wants more cheese.
You know what? It is.
There's like a careful balance to be struck between how much cheese I give Francis because he's a good boy and he deserves cheese.
Yeah.
Versus the consequence of he sleeps in my bed and farts in my face with his nasty puppy cheese farts.
Okay.
So
Summer rarely ever farts, and it's a delight, but every once in a while, out of his little butt, you'll just hear, and it always surprises him, me, everyone around us. We all look at him like, what the hell?
I was in the kitchen. I think you were there. This was like a year or so ago. We were like in the kitchen and we just heard, and we turned around and it was Summer and he looked horrified. It was like a little human fart sound.
God, I don't know why I started this, but our friend Lauren has two beautiful dogs named Hall and Oates, and Hall looks like a house hippo. She's black and she's round. She's like a big overstuffed sausage. She's very big. She's like 80 pounds, right? And she was sitting there at my feet one day when I was over at her house working, and it was just really quiet. Lauren and I were both like in our own, like in our own work, just like really, like we were in grad school at the time, so like we were really focused. And Hall had her head resting in my lap for like 20 minutes. And
she's got a heavy head also.
She does. And she was like fully just like loving just being there. Thank you for inviting me, you know. And then all of a sudden you just hear this. Like it lasted for like a minute and a half of just the longest, most clear crystal tone fart I've seen. And like Lauren looked up and looked at me in the middle of it. It was still like, And like both of us looked at each other, and then we both looked down at Hall, and she looked at both of us, like smiling. She's like, and when it finally, I was like, we were too stunned to speak. Like the whole house was like so quiet, you could hear the wind blow against it. Like we were like, what the fuck was that?
That's a distance fart.
And to this day, I don't think I've ever seen anything more shocking or impressive. The stamina.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Just the, like, abdominal muscle control.
just the fact that she had time to look back and forth between both of us.
This is really fun, guys. We should do this more often.
Should we get some food after this, or... We're going to put up a picture of Hall on our Instagram so you guys can see what this little fiend looks like.
She's just the biggest, sweetest creature.
Oh, she is full of farts.
Mostly farts.
Okay, go ahead.
So now that we've talked about farts for 5 minutes,
now tell me about
the
cheese.
boy who wanted more cheese. This is not a story for the lactose intolerant.
If you are lactose intolerant, maybe go back and listen to my Bible story again.
We're really on different levels of gravity. It's like the Bible, 400 men dead. And then to a boy who really likes cheese.
Mine had a woman get tossed out the window and eaten by dogs. Mm-hmm. And yours has some cheese cubes.
It does.
Okay.
It has Gouda.
Ooh, that's a Gouda for me.
Mm-hmm. And Lindbergher. Yeah, that's what I said.
That's a stinky cheese.
That's a stinky cheese. So I have this story in the World Treasury of Fairy Tales and Folklore by Professor William Gray with Joanna Galar and Rose Williamson. This is originally collected by William Elliot Griffiths in his collection Dutch Fairy Tales for Young Folks. So this story comes from the Netherlands.
Okay.
And that's kind of all you need to know. Also, as like a historical background fact, the Netherlands makes a lot of cheese.
Okay.
Just so you know. Once there was a little Dutch boy. His name...
I don't know why, but that's my favorite way anyone's ever started a story. I'm in it.
There was a little Dutch boy named Klaus van Bommel.
Oh, Klaus. Okay.
He is 12 years old.
Okay.
He is a very round little lad.
I love him already.
Big old cherub cheeks that are like red. He has this shock of like impossibly thick orange hair that is like unpleasant to look at.
Okay.
He walks around in his little woolen socks and his wooden clogs.
Okay.
That's in the story. That's not me riffing.
I would die for him. I want to adopt him as my son. Go ahead.
He has his little pants buttoned to his little jacket.
Yeah.
He just walks around.
He's holding one of those big old lollipops.
Yes.
That is like rainbow.
Absolutely.
And he's wearing one of those hats that has a little ribbon tail at the end.
Yeah. You picture a little Dutch boy. You're right. That's Klaus van Bommel.
What you're thinking of is correct.
His father is a farmer. So they live on a farm, I assume a dairy farm.
Okay.
Although that's never necessarily established. And Klaus van Bommel was always hungry.
Yeah.
His mom said that he had she always teased him and said that he had a pit under his jacket that he would just shovel food into because he ate impossibly much and he was never satisfied. He was always ready for a little treat.
Okay.
So let me tell you a little bit about what Klaus van Bommel would eat in a day.
Okay. I love him.
For breakfast, rye bread and milk.
That's not that bad.
And then for dinner, which is in this case lunch.
Okay.
It's the dinner
Like a
supper.
whole college, high school situation.
Yeah, it's a dinner and then supper thing. Dinner, or in this case lunch, would be cheese and bread and boiled potatoes with butter.
Okay, so far we're not getting a lot of protein, I guess. Well, the milk and the cheese a little bit, but it's not enough.
For supper, he would have bread with skim milk and butter.
We need to get some meats.
Twice a week, he and his sisters were served porridge with brown sugar, so like oatmeal.
Oh, delicious.
And every meal was accompanied, obviously, by sliced cheese. And his mom would slice off a little piece of cheese for him, and he would be like, "Mama, that's too thin." And she would say, "Glass, no. This is right.
This is not a lot of
eat
food.
Less cheese."
No, he just needs more lean meats and vegetables.
Yeah.
There's not a single vegetable to be seen in this little Dutch family.
Potatoes. Boiled potatoes with butter.
That's a starch, though. I wouldn't consider that part of, like, the lean meats and veggies.
No, for sure. So he eats dairy and dairy products and bread.
Carbs.
And boiled potatoes.
Carbonara. And potatoes.
So, every time his mother slices cheese for him for all of his meals, he says, Mama, that's too thin. And she says, no, Klaus, this is how thin we slice cheese. This is all the cheese you get. And he says, Mama, please. And she says, no, Klaus, you're a growing boy, but you don't need that much cheese. She calls him her beautiful little buttercup.
Oh my God.
Because he likes butter so much.
Did you tell me who wrote this story? An angel sent from heaven?
William Elliot Griffiths.
William! Alright,
He calls him her little buttercup because he loves butter so much. He also has 3 sisters. I'm skipping around, so I have to find their names really quickly.
Their names are Swiss, Cheddar, and Gouda.
And Klaus. He has 3 younger sisters. Their names are Twintje, Anjeka, and Sartje, which are sort of like diminutive versions of Dutch names.
Okay.
It explains in the story that these are kind of the Dutch equivalent of like Katie, Annie, and Sally. Which isn't pertinent to the story. No. They don't come up.
They were like, we know that stupid Americans are reading this.
His mom calls them her little orange blossoms, and she calls Klaus her little buttercup. The house's pantry is always full of long, long loaves of bread that they cook fresh. They're so long they have to be stood on end on like the floor of the pantry, and they like be leaned up against the wall.
Like brooms. Instead of a little broom closet, it's a bread closet. Oh, the dream.
That is the dream. That's my dream anyways. Mm-hmm. I've had that dream.
Had that dream.
And a dream that I was stuck in a closet with a bunch of bread.
You had to eat your way out. You wake up and you're in the fridge.
Why would I want out? God, I love bread so much. Mm-hmm. One night, Klaus is in trouble. He is sent to bed early. Oh. And here's what happened.
Okay.
He was at dinner.
I'm his lawyer, and so far I see nothing wrong. Go ahead.
He was at dinner, and he convinced his baby sister, Annika, to give him her slice of cheese. Mm-hmm. So she had no cheese, and he had double cheese.
Okay, but she gave him the cheese, so my client is innocent. Set him free.
And so his mom caught him and was like, Klaus, that cheese is for your sister. But he had already eaten it, so she sent him to bed. And he gets up to his room, and he has a little room that has, like, they're well off, but they're not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. They are, like, they make enough money to live on. His mother keeps the house very, very clean, but it's not fancy.
Yeah. So
he sleeps on, like, a sort of like a big cloth sack full of hay. So he has his little room with his cloth sack full of hay and a single window that is kind of like a skylight. And he goes to his room and he's like, it's not fair. Anjeka gave me her cheese by her own choice. Please, Mama. So he goes up to his room and is throwing a little temper tantrum. And he lays himself down in bed. And he's just quiet for a couple of minutes. And the skylight is open. And through the skylight comes a breeze, which has come to them from over... There's like a forest near their house, and it's coming from the direction of the forest. So it carries the smell of like pine trees and like warm wood and everything. And so Klaus immediately forgets that he's upset. He stands up and he goes over to the window to get a big old whiff of the beautiful forest smells. And at this point, it's nighttime.
Yeah.
And as he goes over to the window, he sees outside of the window something that at first he thinks is a firefly. But as he gets closer, he realizes it's way too big to be a firefly. It's just this sort of glowing orb of light. And it comes in front of his window and sort of does like little like figure eights in front of his window. It like flies over to his chimney and like it flies around the chimney in little spirals and everything, and then comes back over to the window. And Klaus is just watching this, and he's a little bit enchanted.
Yeah,
he's like, "What a beautiful light!" And he starts hearing a whispering sound as this thing is close by, and it eventually gets clearer and clearer the longer he stands and listens. And this little light is saying, "There's plenty of cheese. Come with us."
Oh.
And it's beckoning.
Oh no!
So he hears this voice, and if he kind of squints, he can see in this like orb of light the figure of a girl, right?
Okay. A little fairy.
A little fairy.
Tinkerbell.
Yeah. It's like a little will-o'-the-wisp. And it's like, we have lots of cheese. You can have all the cheese you want. And Klaus does not hesitate. He puts on his little wooden clogs and he tries to sneak downstairs.
Yeah, I was going to say wooden clogs, and this is kind of a round boy. There's no way he's sneaking.
And he sneaks out to the door, and he gently opens the door. And as he's about to step outside, something knocks onto his leg. And he's like, oh, God. And he looks down, and it's just his cat.
Oh.
And he says, good night, kitty. And he
oh, no.
pats the cat on the head, and he walks out of his house and in towards the forest and where he saw the light go.
Max, if anything happens to Klaus, I'm gonna arrest you. I'm gonna make a citizen's arrest.
I really didn't expect you to bond so immediately with this little Dutch boy.
Just so you know, the podcast is over if Klaus comes to any harm on his little orange head. Thank you.
Oh. So he says, good night, kitty, and he pats the cat on the head and he closes the door, and he walks off towards the forest, and he sees this light that was outside of his window sort of guiding him towards the forest, and as he gets closer, he sees that there are more lights in the forest, which again, he thinks are a bunch of fireflies, right? And he gets closer and he sees that there is a fairy ring, a ring of mushrooms.
Klaus, no. Klaus, no.
In a clearing, and it has all of these fairies. Yeah. These little glowing girls.
And there's just a single little cube of Swiss cheese in the middle of the fairy ring.
No. So he walks up, the light sort of beckons him towards the fairy ring, and he's like, okay. And a couple of these other lights sort of peel off from where the other ones are sort of dancing in the fairy ring. A couple of them peel off, and he feels like tiny fingers on his arm as they like pull him towards the fairy ring. And they're like, Klaus, come dance with us.
Oh no.
Come dance with us, Klaus.
Klaus, show us how you dance.
Show us your dance, Klaus.
Klaus, clonk your little clogs. Clonk your clogs for cheese, Klaus.
Step up to the Netherlands. Oh, stomp the yard.
Stomp
clogs.
Clog the yard.
Clog the yard. So Klaus goes into the clearing. I should have mentioned this. He did remember to put on his really big long wool socks before he left the house, so it's not cold.
Good. Okay,
Don't worry.
Thank God.
So these little fairy creatures sort of beckon him, and a couple of them like, sort of like touch his arm and like pull him towards the fairy ring, and they're like, Klaus, come dance with us. There's plenty of cheese, Klaus, come.
Oh, no, Klaus.
And so Klaus steps into the fairy ring, and all of the little fairies, they take his hands and they're like, dance with us, Klaus. And so they do a big dance.
Okay.
He dances with the fairies, and he has a great time. It's like a festival. It's like, he's having the time of his life, right?
Festival for what?
Klaus will be fine, I promise.
Thank you. Put me out of my misery.
So he dances with the fairies, and he's having so much fun. Klaus loves to dance. He's having so much fun dancing with these little fairies, and they're all just like dancing in the middle of this fairy ring, and he doesn't even notice the time passing. No. But the sky slowly starts to turn, a pale gray, and then it turns to a rosy pink as dawn approaches. He has danced the night away with these lovely little fairies, and he doesn't even notice at one point, as like part of the dance, kind of, he like throws himself on the ground, and he doesn't even realize how tired he is, but as soon as he touches the ground, he like falls asleep.
He just, isn't it embarrassing when you're at a wedding and you start to do the worm and then you wake up on the floor? That is what it's like to be an elder millennial trying to do the worm at a wedding. You're like, hey gang, watch this.
And then you just lay down on the floor and fall asleep.
You belly flop on the floor and wake up an hour later and everyone's slow dancing around your body.
And also, you have thrown your back out.
Yeah.
You can't even get off the floor.
And you have to ask people to go ask God if there's a cure for this.
So Klaus throws himself on the ground in the middle of the fairy ring and immediately falls asleep. But he's so tired that he doesn't even realize that he's fallen asleep.
Yeah.
In Klaus's dream, here's what happens. All of the little fairies thank him for dancing with them, and they said, here's some cheese, Klaus, thank you.
Aw.
And they all bring him little wedges of cheese. They cut off little slices of cheese with a golden knife, and they hand feed it to him. And it's all these different, it's all of his favorite kinds of cheese. And for the first time in Klaus's life, there aren't any parents around to scold him and say, "Don't eat so much cheese, Klaus, you're going to get a tummy ache."
This is Francis's dream. When we're like, what's he dreaming right now?
He's dreaming about being hand-fed cheese.
Yeah, a bunch of ravens are just swarming and dropping vats of Velveeta on top of him. He has his mouth underneath the vat, like when you put your mouth underneath the Slurpee machine.
Mm-hmm. It's like a rain shower, but instead of rain, it's just nacho cheese. That's Francis's dream.
Yeah, and Klaus's.
So Klaus is eating all of this delicious cheese, and he's having a great time, and the fairies are, like, handing him cheese, and they are, like, sometimes two of them have to carry a slice of cheese because it's too heavy, and some of them will, like, hand him the cheese, and then they'll do a little dance and everything. So he's just in the middle of this ring of glowing fairies, and they're all feeding him cheese, and he's having the time of his life. Eventually, though, Klaus gets full, which never has happened before. Mm-hmm. But he eats his fill of cheese. And by this point, the story specifically says that he has eaten so much cheese that his jaw is sore.
Oh.
Around the same time that he gets full. So, this boy can eat. So his jaw is sore. His stomach feels like it's filled with lead because he's had so much cheese. You know how it is.
I mean, I do.
Yeah. There have been weeks of my life where I've primarily only eaten, like, cheese.
He's like, it's snowing. And there's just, like, a bunch of shredded Parmesan being sprinkled on top of him.
Beautiful.
That's the dream.
So, and he's so full, you know when you're, like, so full that you, like, kind of can't breathe super well, and you're like,
yeah,
I'm so full. You know how you are.
He has to unbutton his little Dutch boy pants.
He does. Yeah, he has to unbutton his little Dutch boy pants.
And, like, untie his little ascot that you know he's wearing.
100%. No, he's wearing a little bow. Probably.
He has a little bow tie. He unclips it.
Oh, whoo! That's goody.
He's got the cheese sweats.
We've all been there.
It's important we not judge him.
So Klaus is, like, finally full, and he leans back in the fairy ring and is like, woo! So much delicious cheese. But the fairies keep bringing him cheese.
Oh, no.
And the story says that they keep bringing him cheese because Dutch fairies never get tired. So he was like, I want cheese. And they were like, great, we'll just do this forever. So he keeps trying to, like, politely decline the cheese that the fairies are giving him. And they're like, oh, stop it, you. Go on.
Like that scene in The Grinch where they just keep shoving the poo pudding in his mouth. Mm-hmm. And the little one's like, this is not pudding. You don't remember that?
No, I don't think I've ever seen the Grinch movie.
What?
It's March. We can't watch it.
We absolutely can, and we should.
But these fairies just keep bringing him cheese, and he's like, oh, no, thank you, I'm full. And they're like, no, Klaus, you have to. And they just keep handing him cheese, and so he, like, keeps trying to eat and be polite.
Yeah.
But he realizes that it's not just the fairies that he was dancing with, right? Some of them had left at some point, gone out into the world. Some of them had, like, brought more fairies back with them, and they're approaching from the horizon. All of these fairies are coming with cheese, with more cheese from all over the Netherlands.
It's like that scene in Matilda.
Yes. I'm gonna just read some of this. The fairies fly in and they just, you know, he can't hold any more cheese. So they just start dropping it around him, kind of.
Oh, no.
And it starts mounding into these piles around him.
Oh, shit.
So he's, like, claustrophobic from being surrounded by cheese. He's claustrophobic.
Oh, claustrophobic.
So I'm just gonna read this little thing. Red balls from Edam, which are, like, the wax-covered...
Yeah.
Like a baby doll, kind of. Mm-hmm. Pink and yellow spheres from Gouda, I promised.
Hey.
Gray loaf-shaped cheeses from Leyden. The tallest and strongest of the fairies were rolling along huge, round, flat cheeses from Friesland as big as a cartwheel. So there are these, it's like they're playing, you know, sticks and hoops. Have you ever been to, like, one of those things where they show you how kids used to play with sticks and hoops?
No.
Okay.
I was cool.
Well, they would roll a hoop along the ground, and then they would take sticks and they would whack the hoop to keep it upright.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sticks and hoops. So the fairies are bringing these big wheels of cheese that they're, like, rolling towards him with, they're, like, whacking it with sticks to keep it rolling, and they're laughing and dancing around. All of these cheeses are still coming from all around Klaus. And farm cheese, factory cheese, Alkmaar cheese, and cheese from Lindbergh, which Klaus could never bear because of its strong odor.
It's stinky cheese.
It's a stinky cheese. Soon, the cakes and balls of cheese were heaped so high around him that the boy, as he looked up, felt like a frog in a well.
Ooh.
Which is a great description. He groaned when he thought the high cheese walls were tottering to fall on him. Then he screamed, but the fairies thought he was making music. They, not being human, do not know how a boy feels. The fairies just don't understand what it's like to be a boy.
They don't get it.
They don't
Neither do I.
get it. So Klaus is sitting here in the middle of this, like, pile of cheese, and these fairies are like, here you go, here's some more. Wouldn't you like some more cheese, Klaus? And he's like, no, thank you. And he's like, his cheeks are stuffed with cheese. He's like, I really don't want any more, thank you. And these walls of cheese around him just keep piling up and up and up until they have to, it's almost like forming a volcano around him, and he's just in the middle, and so they have to, like, drop the cheese down in the hole in the, like,
Oh no.
mountain of cheese. And the cheese is not structurally sound, so it's, like, wobbling every time they drop a new piece of cheese on it and everything.
Oof.
And so he's looking up and, like, watching as the sky above him disappears and shrinks in, like, this
Holy shit.
hole in the cheese. And he screams, and the fairies are like, he loves it! More cheese!
Oh no.
And finally, Klaus couldn't even pretend to eat anymore. He takes the cheese that's in his hands and he drops it. The fairies are like, Klaus, go on. You can have more cheese if you want. Have some more cheese, Klaus. And he is terrified that at this point, he's like, I'm gonna die. Either from this cheese toppling and squishing me,
Yeah.
or from my stomach fully exploding.
Yeah.
And so he's like, his stomach feels like lead. He is in pain from eating too much cheese. And he's watching this thing, like this huge mountain of cheese wobble around him. And he's like, well, this is how I go.
Holy crap.
Just as this mountain wobbles and he sees it reaches that point of, like, tipping in towards him.
Oh no.
All of these cheeses start to fall in towards him, and he screams.
Yeah.
And in that moment, Klaus wakes up.
Oh.
He wakes up in the fairy ring.
Oh.
It is now morning.
Yeah.
What woke him was the sound of the bell in town ringing to tell the time.
Yeah.
So he wakes up in this fairy ring, and he's like, let me see. He sees the sun rising and the birds chirping. He feels his clothes, his little Dutch boy outfit, and it is wet with dew because he has fallen asleep in the woods. He looks around, he sees the fairy ring around him. He sort of is like, oh my god, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. Okay, and as he sort of gasps for air, he realizes that his mouth is full of grass.
Oh no, he's been eating grass.
This whole time he's been lustily just pulling up grass with his mouth and eating it.
Oh.
Which contributed to, like, the feeling in the dream of, yeah.
Yeah.
And the end of the story is, Klaus never would tell the story of his night with the fairies, nor has he yet settled the question whether they left him because the cheese house of his dream had fallen, or because daylight had come.
The cheese house of my dreams.
The cheese house of my dream.
That felt like a Roald Dahl story.
Yeah.
Right? That was so weird and fun and weird.
What a jolly little cheese boy.
I love Klaus with all my heart. I love him so much. My heart hurts.
He's so good.
He's so good.
It's just a boy who loves cheese. It literally is the boy who wanted more cheese.
God, I love
That's the
that
whole story.
so much.
It also doesn't establish, at the end, I thought that the lesson was going to be like, and he never ate cheese again.
I thought for sure that was going to be it, like he had his fill.
No, he still loves cheese.
Yeah. Just had a bad day. I mean, I one time had a dream that I had to eat all my own teeth, but I still keep my teeth in my mouth. You know, like, I'm not going to get rid of my teeth because of that. You know?
Sure. I like the idea that cheese is as necessary to Klaus as teeth are to you.
That it's as unremovable, as permanent, I guess is the
as
word.
painful to remove as teeth.
It is.
Yeah, I didn't establish it. There was no part in the ending that was like, and Klaus never stole his sister's cheese again. And or like after that, Klaus ate vegetables. It's just like, after that, Klaus was like, well, I better not fuck with fairies, I guess.
Who's the little toad boy from Over the Garden Wall? The little one.
Greg.
Greg?
Mm-hmm.
That feels wrong. Greg, that's who I'm imagining as Klaus, but a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
A little round boy, just asleep and eating grass like a cow.
100%.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's what I was picturing until you said that, but you are absolutely right.
Adorable. I love him.
Just a round little cheese boy.
Okay. Well, Max, excellent work.
Thank you so much. We got some Wrath of God, and we got some cheese.
We got some fire and brimstone, and we got some cheddar and Swiss. Guys, if you liked this story and you want to see some pictures of the books that we read and all this stuff, then please go on. Mine is just, I guess, the Bible. I don't know. Please go onto our Instagram or our Twitter. Those pictures and stuff are posted there. If you want to join the Discord, which is where we also post those pictures and we have really fun conversations, then you can. Join the Patreon. At the $3 level, you get full access to the Discord. And at the $7 level, you can have a little extra bonus episode. Mm-hmm. You want to say, do you remember what you did for the bonus episode?
Yeah. I did 2 Japanese stories. I did a creature feature, and I did a trickster tale from Japan.
And they were great. Yeah, a little yokai story book tour. And I don't remember what I did. I really thought I was going to when you were saying it. I was impressed that you remembered as well as you did.
Thank you. You said you got it from the same
book.
book.
I got it from, it was from the Yellow Fairy book. It was about that horrible guy. You know what? I'm going to cut this part. But,
yeah. Anyways, if you want a little Japanese creature feature.
And a Andrew Lang story from the Yellow Fairy book on my tale. Then you can join the $7 level. And those will be updated every month. We'll give you a new little bonus episode. Plus access to the Discord. Plus access to our extra book club episodes as they come out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That's going to be really fun. And you can find all of our links to all of our socials in the show notes of this episode of the podcast you're listening to. And also at www.swordofthestory.com. And you can email us. We haven't been pinching the email, but email us. What do you think? Are you mad at me for telling another Bible story? Let me know.
Email us your opinions on Limburger cheese.
Oh, yeah. Tell us what the best cheese is on the Discord. Drop it. Cool. And with that,
what's your favorite cheese?
Oh, I really like a sharp cheddar. I never go wrong with a sharp cheddar.
That's good.
Yeah, it's classic. I also like a Gouda. Oh, I like goat cheese. Never mind. My favorite cheese is goat cheese.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It took me a while to get there.
Well, I guess my question, as far as just eating cheese, not eating it with things.
It's a goat cheese.
Just eating goat cheese?
I mean, I don't usually just eat goat cheese, but I find myself at any given time either craving goat cheese or being like, I would like to eat something. Goat cheese is perfect. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really just eat cheese. I usually put it on something.
Weird.
What is yours?
I want to say brie, but I really don't like brie on its own. I only like it with stuff.
I think that's okay. Do you eat anything just on its own, often enough to say, that's my snack?
I don't know.
Because I usually put them on crackers.
I like a good Kojak.
You do like a good Kojak?
I like a good pepper jack.
You do, and I think that's really weird.
Pepper jack?
Yeah.
I love pepper jack.
I want everything I have to be a little bit sour.
I want everything I have to be a little bit spicy.
Yeah, see? And we're different!
We're different!
Okay. Speaking of spicy, thank you to Keith!
Thanks to Keith.
Keith, we love you! Can you give us back our firstborn rights, please?
Eat some cheese on the house.
Yeah, you know what? Your next bowl of cheese is on us. Ew.
Eat some cheese on our house.
We'll
see you then.
And everyone else, have a great little spicy day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Testing.
Yodeling.
Ooh, beautiful music.
Thank you.
Anything interesting happened today?
Yeah, I got some really bad news.
Okay.
I talked to my doctor and he got back to me and
your doctor's a man?
Yeah.
That's sexist, Max.
No, he just is.
That's wow. I didn't realize you were part of the patriarchy.
Leave Dr. Dan alone. He's a goddamn national treasure.
Dr. Dan?
Yes.
Oh my god. During International Women's History Month, you dare bring us a story about a male doctor? Ugh, go ahead. What did you get diagnosed with?
lovely lady mumps.
My mumps. My mumps. Of course, Dr. Dan would call them lovely lady mumps. Sexist.
It's just regular
anyone
mumps,
can get
but
mumps.
he wanted to soften the blow a little bit. He was like, hey, you have mumps, but you're really pretty. That doesn't help, Dr. Dan.
Hello, Dr. Dan, that's sexist. Actually, how dare you?
You're not allowed to think I'm pretty, that's sexist.
Yeah, during International Women's History Month, Dr. Dan,
How dare you?
you had the gall to be a cis male doctor during International Women's History Month. And then you sexualize my mumps.
Stop sexualizing my mumps.
My mumps are not for your enjoyment, Dr. Dan. They're for me. Now, please get rid of them. This is the America Fergie dreamed of.
Where women can take control of their own lovely lady mumps.
And justice for all.